Hello everyone, welcome to Marketing Research, MKTG 457. This is chapter 11. Okay. In this chapter, let's talk about the questionnaire design. Questionnaire design. Okay. You're going to use this as a guidance for your group project, your group project's questionnaire. Okay. We talk more about this, in my announcement. After studying this chapter, you should be able to know the key decisions in questionnaire design. Okay? You can choose between open-ended and fixed alternative questions. Okay? You can avoid common mistakes in writing questionnaire items. Okay? You can minimize problems with the order bias. Okay? You can understand the principle of survey flow. Okay? Use the latest survey technology to reduce respondent error, okay? And appreciate the importance of pre-testing survey instruments. Yeah. I need you guys to pre-test your own questionnaire. Okay. Let's see what is questionnaire. The questionnaire is the primary tool for building responses to research questions. It's a primary tool for building responses to research questions. Questionnaire design is one of the most critical stages in the survey research process. Okay? If your questionnaire is not designed well, you cannot, have a successful survey research, as you can imagine. Okay? If you ask bad questions, you get bad results. Okay? You heard about the GIGO principle, GIGO principle, GIGO, right? Garbage in, garbage out. Okay, garbage in, garbage out. So you do not want to have a bad design. Okay? There are some basic considerations in questionnaire design. Okay, first, these decisions must be made. Okay, what should be asked? What do you want to ask? What should be asked? Right? How should the question be phrased? Okay, how could questions be phrased? And in what sequence should the question be arranged? In what sequence should that question be arranged? Okay? And some questions you want to ask in the beginning, introductory questions, right? And some questions like demographics, you want to ask last, especially in your demographic questions like income. Yeah, you want to ask income questions last. In fact, I want you to ask demographics like gender, age, social, economic status, income the very last in your questionnaire, because you do not want to scare people off with questions like how much money do you make, how much wealth do you have in the beginning of the questionnaire. That's not a good idea. Okay. What questionnaire layout will best serve the research objectives? What kind of layout do you want to have? Okay. How can the questionnaire encourage complete responses? You have to have good introduction in the beginning, telling people why this is a meaningful, interesting research, and you appreciate their help and their participation. Okay? And how should the questionnaire be pre-tested and then revised? I want you to pre-test your questionnaire and then revise it. And you're going to document that in your paper. Okay? Who are the people to pre-test your questionnaire? You can ask your roommate, homemate, families, friends, other people not in this class, okay, not your classmates. Okay. What should be asked? Okay, the specific questions to be asked will be a function of the previous decision. Okay. The later stage of the research process will have an important impact on the questionnaire wording. Okay. When designing the questionnaire, the researcher must also be thinking about the types of statistical analysis that will be conducted. Okay. In the later chapters, I'll talk more about the statistical analysis you will be doing, you'll be conducting, including correlations, ANOVA, descriptives, and ANOVA will be chi-square and regression. In order to do those analysis, you need to have some of the questions in the ratio scale or interval scale at least. Okay, and I need you to ask many attitude questions. We talked about attitude measurement last chapter, right? I want you to have at least 2 or 3 attitude questions, asking people's opinion about certain things or the attitude towards something, and using Likert scale questions. Likert scale, you want to have 5 or 7 item scale so that we can treat that kind of like treated as ratio scale, so we can use the analysis tool that we're going to talk about later. Okay. Questionnaire relevancy. Right? Your questionnaire must be relevant. A questionnaire is relevant to the extent that all information collected addresses a research question that will help the decision maker address the current marketing problem. Okay? Relevant. Right? The researcher should be specific about the data needs and have a rationale for each item. Okay? Irrelevant questions make the survey needlessly long. You don't want to do that. You want to make it as short as possible. Okay? When planning the questionnaire design, researchers must think about the possible outcomes here. Okay? Questionnaire accuracy. Okay? Accuracy means that the information is reliable and valid. We talked about reliability and validity before, right? Accuracy means that the information is reliable and valid for the questionnaire to be accurate. One should use simple, understandable, unbiased, unambiguous, and non-irritating words. You want people to understand you, and you don't want them to be confused, and you certainly do not want to irritate them, make them mad, right? However, no step-by-step procedure can be generalized. Okay? Respondents tend to be most cooperative when the subject of research is interesting. I want you to make them interesting in the topic of research and also in the introduction of the research. It's telling them why this is worthwhile, it's interesting research. Okay? If questions are not lengthy and difficult to answer or ego-threatening, there is a high probability of obtaining unbiased answers. Okay, questions not lengthy, not difficult to answer, or ego-threatening, then there is a high probability of obtaining unbiased answers. Okay? Question wording and sequence substantially influence accuracy. So pay attention to your wording and also the sequence of questions. Okay. Question phrasing, open or close-ended statements. Yeah, you can use either open or close-ended statements. Open-ended responses versus fixed alternative questions. Okay. Open-ended questions, open response questions pose some problem or topic and ask respondents to answer in their own words. Okay, this is why it's called open-ended, all right? Fixed alternative questions, also known as closed questions, are give the respondent the specific limited alternative responses and ask them to choose the one closest to their own viewpoint. Therefore, your alternatives must be complete and comprehensive and cover all possibilities. Okay. Use open-ended response questions. Use of most open-ended response questions are most beneficial when the researcher is conducting exploratory research. When you don't have any clue as to what is going on, you can ask them that type of questions. Okay? By gaining free and uninhibited responses, the researcher may find some unanticipated reaction towards the project. Okay? May also be useful at the beginning of interview as they allow the respondents to warm up to the questioning process. Okay, that's open-ended questions. Okay, the cost of open-ended response question is substantially higher. to code it, to enter the data. Okay? Interviewer bias may influence the answer. Okay? Articulate individuals tend to give longer answers, and such respondents often are better educated and from higher income groups. Okay? But they may not be representative of the entire population and provide a disproportionate share of these responses. So there's the pros and cons of that. Okay? Fixed alternative questions. Fixed alternative questions require less interviewer skills, take less time, and are easier for the respondent to answer. They just have to choose. Okay? Answers to closed-ended and closed questions are classified into standardized groupings. Okay? If a researcher is unaware of the potential response to a question, fixed alternative questions cannot be used. You must be aware of the potential responses. You must know what might be answered. Okay, you better have good understanding of the nature of the question and the possible answers, all possible answers. Okay, if the researcher assumes the responses and is wrong, he or she will have no way of knowing the extent to which the assumption was incorrect. Okay. Unanticipated alternatives emerge when respondents believe the closed answers do not adequately reflect their feelings. Then that's not good. Okay, that's not good. Okay, they may check off obvious alternatives if they do not see the choice they would prefer. Okay, they may tempt them to check an answer that is more prestigious or socially acceptable than the true answer. Okay? Most questionnaire mix open-ended and closed-ended questions, providing a change of pace that can eliminate respondent boredom and fatigue. Okay? Type of fixed alternative questions. There are many types of fixed alternative questions. There is a simple dichotomy or dichotomous alternative questions. Present two alternatives. Okay? Yes or no, for example, gender male or female. Okay. Or there are also multiple choice questions allowing for a choice from multiple alternatives, kind of similar to your multiple choice question test. You have 4 or 5 answers to choose from. Okay. The frequency determination question asks for answer about the general frequency of occurrence. Okay. The checklist questions allow respondents to provide multiple answers to a single question. Ask them to check out the list. Okay. The type of a fixed alternative question, there's some guidelines here. Okay. There should be no overlap among categories in the checklist. Each alternative should be mutually exclusive. For example, for age groups, right? You cannot have, say, like one age belonging to 2 different groups. Okay? They have to be mutually exclusive. The researcher should strive to ensure that there are sufficient response choices to include almost all possible answers. That's why for age group, for example, you may want to have under 15 or over 70, then you can cover everything, all the ages. Okay? Freezing questions for self-administered telephone or personal interview surveys. The means of data collection, telephone interview, personal interview, or self-administered questionnaire will influence the question format and question freezing. How you collect data affect that. Questions for mail, internet, and telephone surveys must be less complex than those used in personal interviews. Because in personal interviews, you can explain those complex questions, but in mail or like a telephone surveys, you don't have the opportunity to explain that. So you want to have a simpler phrase for the questions. Okay. Excuse me. Questionnaires for telephone and personal interviews should be written in a conversational style, as if you are having a conversation with them. Okay? This is an example of a best question formats, by the interview medium, right? For the top one, format for self-administered questionnaires. Since they're doing that, answer that, read that, understand it, and answer it by themselves, you can have more categories. See, for the question, how satisfied are you with your mobile phone service provider? From very dissatisfied, quite dissatisfied, somewhat dissatisfied, slightly dissatisfied, to neither satisfied nor dissatisfied, to slightly satisfied, somewhat satisfied, quite satisfied, to very satisfied. You can see how 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I have 9 categories to choose from. Okay. But for a phone interview or a personal interview, you can ask the same question: how satisfied are you in your phone service provider? Would you say that you are very satisfied, satisfied, dissatisfied, dissatisfied, satisfied, and very satisfied? We just give them 5 choices and make it simpler. Okay. So you guys, most of you are likely to use the internet, online internet surveys, so you can use more questions. Okay. Avoiding some mistakes. Okay. Remember, simpler is better. Make it simple. Avoid leading and loaded questions. Okay? Leading and loaded questions. Right? Avoid ambiguity. Be as specific as possible. Right? Avoid double-barreled items. I'll explain that in a second. Right? Double-barreled questions. Avoid making assumptions. Okay? Avoid taxing respondents' memory. Okay? Simple is better. Words used in questionnaires should be readily understandable to all respondents. Okay? The technical jargon of top executives should be avoided. For example, brand image. Yeah, what's brand image? They may not know. Positioning or position strategy. A lot of people may not know. Okay? Avoid leading and loaded questions. What are leading questions? Leading questions suggest or imply certain answers. You shouldn't ask that. Such questions may result in a bandwagon effect, which threatens the study's validity. Bandwagon effect, the people tend to jump on the bandwagon to agree with the statement. Okay, you do not want to ask leading questions. Okay. Partial mention of alternative is a variation of this phenomenon. Okay? What is a loaded question? Loaded questions suggest a socially desirable answer or are emotionally charged. That's a loaded question. You suggest a socially desirable answer, right? They may answer that, okay? Or emotionally charged. And that's also loaded. Certain answers to questions are more socially desirable than others. Okay? Avoid ambiguity. Be as specific as possible. Items on questionnaires are often ambiguous because they are too general. Okay? Indefinite words such as frequently, often, ready, etc. may have many different meanings to different people. Okay? You should avoid double-barreled items. Okay? A question covering several items at once is referred to as double-barreled question and should always be avoided. Okay? Several items at once, double-barreled. Okay? The results may be exceedingly difficult to interpret if you ask double-barreled questions. Avoid making assumptions. The researchers should not place the respondent in a bind by including an implicit assumption in the question. Implicit assumption. You're assuming something, okay, which may not be true or applicable. Another frequent mistake is assuming that the respondent had previously thought about an issue. They may not have thought about this issue. May never be been aware of the issue. Okay. Researchers that include the people to express attitudes on subjects that they do not ordinarily think about is meaningless. Okay? Also, avoid taxing respondents' memory. Okay? Questions that give no clue as to the brand of interest are referred to as unaided recall questions. Okay? Aided recall questions provide clue to jog the respondent's memory. Okay? Additional consequences of respondents forgetting the exact details of their behavior. Okay? There's a telescoping and the squishing. Right? What's telescoping? Telescoping means that the past events happened more frequently than they actually did. That's telescoping. Past events happened more recently than they actually did. That's telescoping. Right? You draw something further, closer. Squishing is recent events took place longer ago than they really did. If a recent event took place longer ago than they actually did, that's called the squishing. Okay? Here are some examples of ways to avoid common wording mistakes in questionnaire design. Okay, like for example, mistakes in wording items. Here are the solutions for better wording. If item is too complex, you can use it. Look at the arrow here. You can use fewer and simpler words. Or use this arrow here. You can pre-test to find out. Okay. If there is a leading respondent, your leading respondent from here, you can go pre-test it. You find out. If there's ambiguous wording, the wording is ambiguous, you can use fewer, simpler words. You can use concrete terminology, or you can use pre-test. Double-barreled items, you can use fewer. You can do one issue, put one item, or you can use pre-test. Okay? Item assumes too much. You can either know respondent's knowledge level, or you can pre-test. Okay? Taxing respondent's memory, you can use either use concrete terminology, or provide a memory prompt, or use aided recall. We can pre-test. You can see many of the problems can be resolved using pre-test. Okay, I need you to pre-test. Okay. Order bias. What's order bias? Question sequence. Question sequence, the order of questions may serve several functions. The order may serve several functions. Order bias can result from an alternative answers position in a set of answers or from the sequence of questions, okay, because of the order. Okay. Order bias tend to distort survey results, so you should be patient to that. Okay, pay attention to that. Asking specific questions before asking about broader issue is a common cause. You ask specific questions before asking about the broader issue. You should ask a broader issue first, then you go deeper into more specific questions. And then it's going to be in correct order. Okay? Funnel techniques. Okay? Asking general questions before specific questions in order to obtain unbiased responses. That's called the funnel techniques. Okay? This allows researchers to understand the respondent's frame of reference before asking more specific questions. Okay? Randomized presentations. An anchoring effect may occur with attitude scales. Right? The first concept measured tends to become a comparison point from which subsequent evaluations are made. Okay? There's an anchoring effect, what we call anchoring effect. Randomization of items on questionnaires helps to minimize this order bias. Okay? If you randomize them, okay? Then it helps minimize this bias. Okay? Related problem is the bias caused by order of alternatives on closed questions. Okay? The order of these choices should be randomized. Okay? Survey flow, right? Refer to the ordering of questions. Often certain sections of questionnaire are irrelevant to a particular respondents. Okay? Asking a question that does not apply to the respondent or that the respondent is not qualified to answer may be irritating or cause a biased response or even survey break off. They stop answering. Okay? So a break off means the respondent stops answering the question. No, that's not good. A filter question can serve as the bridging mechanism. Okay? Traditional questionnaires. Researchers should strive to keep questionnaires as short as possible. Okay? Multiple grid or matrix table questions presents several similar questions and corresponding response alternatives arranged in a grid format. You can put them in a grid format. Okay? Instructions are often capitalized and printed in bold. Okay? Layout is extremely important when questionnaires are long. Okay? Survey technology. There are survey software programs like Qualtrics, SurveyMonkey, Qualtrics that allow several special features that facilitate the design. Okay? There are several key advantages of that. Response quality is good. Timing is good. Okay? Speeders are respondents who take relatively little time to move through a survey, so little that the veracity of the response is questionable. Okay? The speeders. Okay? Randomized assignment. You can randomize assignment. Okay? The key advantages of survey technology. There are some physical features, tracking internet, a heat map question. What's a heat map question? It's a geographical question that tracks the parts of an image or advertisement that most capture a respondent's attention. We call it a heat map question. Okay? You can use a status bar provide a visual indicator of questionnaire length, how much has been completed, okay? How much to go. Piping. Piping this technique allows respondents to a previous question to be inserted into later questions, called piping. Okay? This is an example of portions of interview form used by a telephone interviewer. Okay? It said the first question, it's a telephone interview, okay? Did you take the car you had checked to the standard auto repair center for repairs? If they say yes, skip to question number 3, right? If no, you continue, right? If no, you ask second question. Did you have the repair work done? If you say yes, you go down to the next one. If no, you go here. If you say yeah, you say, what was repair work? Where was repair work done? So no, why didn't you have the car repair? Okay, and then you keep going to the, why didn't you have the repair work done at the standard auto repair center? And then if yes to question number 1, you ask how satisfied were you with repair work? Were you very satisfied, somewhat dissatisfied, or very dissatisfied? Okay. If somewhat or very dissatisfied, then you say, in what ways were you dissatisfied? Okay, you see, this is how the telephone interview is designed to find out about two people's satisfaction or dissatisfaction with the repair work. Okay. This example, you keep going. Ask question number 4. Keep going. I'm not going to read it. You can read it, look at it. Okay. Pre-testing and revising the questionnaire. Okay. Usually this questionnaire is tried out on a group that is similar to the sample. Okay. And pre-testing allows researcher you to determine if the respondents have any difficulty understanding the questionnaire. The good people to ask your family, your friends, other people, other students not taking this class. Okay. This process can save the potential disaster of administering an invalid questionnaire to several hundred individuals. You don't want to wait until you launch the full formal survey and waste your money there. Okay. A preliminary tabulation of the pretest results often illustrates issues. You can use that to revise your questionnaire. Okay. Pretests are typically conducted to answer questions about the questionnaire, such as, can the questionnaire format be followed by the interviewer? Okay. Does the questionnaire flow naturally and conversationally? Okay. Are the questions clear and easy to understand? Okay. Can respondents answer questions easily? Okay. Which alternative forms of questions should we use? Okay. What overall item response rate is expected? Things like that. Okay. Designing questionnaire for global markets. Sometimes you want to do international marketing research, and international researchers, you must take cultural factors into account. Okay, cultural factors. You put your questionnaire online, you may have international respondents. Okay, you may consider that. The most common problem with involves translation into another language. Translation issues. Right? You can use back translation. What's back translation? You can back translate this process of translating the questionnaire from one language to another, and then having it translated back again by a second independent translator. Then you'll see if it is done correctly the first place. Okay, that's back translation. The back translator is often a person whose native tongue is the language that will be used in the questionnaire. Okay, and consider that back translation. Or sometimes you want to use a parallel translation. You have two group translators doing the translation. Okay, it's for global market. Okay, I think that's all I have for this chapter of questionnaire design. Okay, and you can use these guidelines to design your questionnaire. Okay. That's all I have for today. I'll see you next time.